Hey everyone, this is YANE podcast about biotechnology and biohacking by Yanelab team. And today I have a very special, very amazing guest, David Hewlett. And we had this amazing conversation about just everything, pretty much, just two ADHD people talking about stuff. And we talk a bit about, what's David doing and how you can be a Hollywood actor and actually do pretty cool nerdy stuff. And, you can always be a nerd.
Always.
Yeah.
It's the Hollywood stuff is only so I can pay for being a nerd, really. Yeah.
Honestly, it works. Why not?
Exactly. I've got to undo some of the damage that Hollywood's done to the nerd space.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. The moment I saw you talk at Biohack the Planet, I was like, oh my God, she's got this down. I can't I wanted to run off to the Ukraine and join the Yanelab thing. So
well, it's same because I came to that conference and I remembered I was like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be David Hewlett of Stargate, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I really wanted to go say hi and meet you, but I was so shy. But then after my talk, you're like, hey Daria, and you just walked up to me. I was like, I can't. This is too much. This is so exciting. I was like, hyperventilating.
Oh really? Oh, I was God. No, you seemed completely together to me. That's hilarious.
I was just like, yes, hello, David.
Oh no, it was great. That's what I love about that event is that it was just you just get to talk to people, you just get a chance to. It's so funny because I've been to so many of these conventions that are all like sci-fi conventions, and I can't. It's very hard to interact with people properly there because they're sort of there for you or people like you. So whereas in this case, I was just audience. It was fantastic. I just got to actually go and meet people, and because of the acting thing, you get a little bit of extra access, which is really fun. So I have using
my fame.
You like that in a second. Oh yeah, are you kidding? Yeah, free bio stuff for sure. I'm there.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, and like I say, if there's anything, whenever, if you feel you're short on a guest one day or something, and I'm free, I'm more than happy.
Trust me
to chat. But now you're gonna have to bug me now because I'm gonna have to definitely follow up on that jellyfish thing. Make sure that the kids have seen some kind of action.
Same.
On this.
You can always always text me.
You may get some frantic. I don't know what's happened. What have I done? I'm glowing. Yeah.
You're like, oh well.
Yeah. Well, so now what are you doing? So are you doing chats? Are you doing a podcast? What is your, I'm sorry, I should have done more research, but
it's okay. No, you don't have to. No. I'm supposed to do research, right?
Oh, really? You haven't done research, have you? Damn it.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. So tell me about this tweet you tweeted in 2007. No,
I'm sure you'll find some. Yeah, exactly. I've been digging deep. How are things going with that out there, by the way?
With what?
With podcasts and the Biolab and all that stuff.
It's nice. So we started a podcast just because I was like, there's not a lot of people talking about, a lot of people are doing biohacking, but there's not a lot of just gathered information, or just when you see someone, you're like, oh, that's a cool biohacker. I wonder, can I watch an interview or I get to know them better, know what their intention, what's the journey and stuff like that, right? So I was like, I'll start doing biohacking podcast, and started doing it in Ukrainian, which is very niche, podcast about biohacking in Ukrainian is very niche. I still do it, right? But
it's like you and your friends. That's like
pretty much me and my team. And then Josiah Zahner, he was like, you need to start doing it in English. I'm like, no one's going to listen to me. But he was like, I did a podcast with Josiah a few weeks ago. It was pretty good. It was very fun. His requirement was to do a podcast. He was like, only if you're going to drink with me. And I'm like, okay, we can do that.
That's dangerous. Careful. Everything on the internet stays on the internet, right?
I know, but it was a good conversation. So I enjoy podcasts more than interviews because interview it's like one person interrogating other about their biography, and it's kind of or maybe just if you don't know anything about that person. But I find it's more interesting just when it's a podcast. It's a conversation. You can ask questions, you can answer questions, and it's just more brain food for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I suck at interviews because I always end up asking more questions than they do, which is, I'm sure, very frustrating for publicity people. But yeah, I agree. I think there's when you want to know stuff about biohackers, you have to go digging. Like you have to go and find, you got to go find David Ishii stuff. You got to go find, I mean, not that it's hard to find, but you need to know who to ask Google to find for you or whatever. And so I think it's smart to have, I don't know of many, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts now. I mean, I'm sure everyone does. It's part of the nature of the pandemic, I think, is that we also have a dog again now. So I end up walking this wretched mutt for hours of the day. And so I need to be, I feel like I'm wasting time if there's not something in my brain while I'm walking the dog, other than just which way I'm going to go with the dog. So a lot of podcasts, and I have made a concerted effort to look for biohacking or biotech related stuff. And there's not a lot. Most of it's more about like, oh, Pfizer bought this. And it's all very big company related stuff. So I think that's actually very smart. Good. I have to add you to my podcast list now. That's
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, my frustration has been with the whole biohacking side of stuff right now is because I can't have the kids. It still would be difficult for me to get the kids together to do anything now. And I would be a little nervous about that because, I mean, they're old enough. Most of my kids are old enough now that they would be vaccinated anyways, but there's still just colds and all sorts of stuff. I'm always a bit worried about that right now. I was always a germaphobe anyways, but
but I feel like so now if you sneeze, you need to like write an apology and make an apology video on YouTube why you sneezed and why that happened.
We have to get tested now, right? Because I'm on C, so I'm working for Apple right now, and they're if you're sick or if the kid's sick at school or whatever, we have to get tested. So I mean, Apple literally, talk about privilege. I've got someone who comes to the house and tests me before I go to set. Like it's pretty, not just personally me, but the cast in general gets that. So, but that's an exception. There's very few shows I'm sure that are doing that, to going that far. But it's quite funny though, because the neighbors don't know what to make of me. This woman shows up, Julianne shows up in her blue flowing robes and her mask, and she comes and swabs my nose on the porch and then disappears back into a van and drives off and stuff. So. But there's a lot of it because of the pandemic. There is a lot of interest in this stuff more than there was before. Especially the kids are much more in tune with this stuff than they were before. So from a possible benefit standpoint, from an education standpoint, I've loved the fact that we've been able to talk about viruses and how viruses work and
how vaccines work. But also, now everyone is a virologist, epidemiologist, biologist, and biotech specialist.
Everyone's got an opinion on it too.
Yeah, I know. It's
and of course it's being politicized as well, which doesn't make it any better. Did you you were a part of that vaccinate yourself thing?
Yeah.
How did that work out, by the way?
It worked out. I mean, we all had immunity. I still had to, and I caught COVID after about like 8 months after it was super. I didn't even know it was COVID. I just lost sense of smell and taste, and I was like, "Oh, I guess it's COVID." And I tested, and but like I didn't have anything else. Just not even a runny nose. But and
sorry, forgive me my ignorance of this. Was it the mRNA one that you were playing with the mRNA one, right? Is that
no. We are just doing DNA vaccines. So basically, it's super interesting. So how we did it is a article came out on Science magazine, which is a pretty big scientific journal, right?
Oh yeah.
And what scientists did, they tested it in rhesus macaques, and they basically just took a DNA plasmid, so just a circle of DNA. Right, nothing special. That codes spike protein, right? And it's just a plasmid to like test on mammalians, and they literally just injected an insane amount of that DNA into macaques, and it worked. Like without even transfection regions, or usually when you want to put DNA into something, you want like by itself, it doesn't really want to get in the cell. It needs some kind of help because
right.
That wouldn't be good if just cells accepted any DNA that just flows around.
Generally bad security on the body's part there.
Yeah, pretty much. But they just used 5 milligrams of DNA for each dose, which is like, it's insane. I even dropped my microphone. It was so insane.
It was, It
was like 5 ml dose. So one dose was 5 milliliters, which was like in a test tube. It was
That's
like this.
I mean, God, that must feel like an eternity going in.
That felt really not nice. And like I don't have much of like arms, or just like I'm not a big person.
Yeah, I wouldn't notice it, but I could see. Yeah.
And like Josiah and David, they just use like one syringe with really big needle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that needle is gonna like poke me, go right through me. So I had to use like 5 insulin syringes.
Oh wow.
But I had to do 5 injections for like 1 dose.
Wow.
That's a lot of liquid.
And that's, I mean, you lot know what you're doing.
Of course,
but that's still, I mean, that's no nerves about that. You must be slightly nervous about that, weren't you? Isn't that?
I was like, Josiah texted me and he was like, hey, do you want to participate? You, me, and David Ishi. And I'm still that, that kid from Ukraine no one knows about, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, Josiah and David, those are like oh my gosh, such a fangirl moment. And I already, was like kind of friends with Josiah, not really with David, but I met him.
Isn't he? I love David Ishi.
David is the best. Oh,
he's
dad
like,
core.
He's like he's like a Zen biohacker.
He's so nice.
Yeah, I love him. Love him.
So these 2 star biohackers, and he invites me, and I'm like, literally, no one knows about me. I haven't done anything. Why me? But I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just help with, like, I don't know, wash the dishes or something, right? As like a lab assistant. He was like, no, you're gonna like 3 of us are doing this like equally. You're gonna do it in Ukraine. You're gonna test everything yourself, right? Like work with human cell cultures, draw blood, blah blah blah, do ELISA tests and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. First, my thought was like, this is such a good learning opportunity. Can you imagine?
Yeah, no kidding.
How can you learn best about vaccines than like making vaccine yourself?
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
So, and I was a bit nervous, but side effects with injecting DNA are almost like non-existent. You might have like an anaphylactic shock, like, but just have like EpiPen by yourself. And we also did like a test injection before we did it, like a tiny amount, just to see, how we'll do, like 10 milligrams or not 10 microliters.
I was gonna say, well, that is a small test. Yeah, right. So just a tiny test to make sure, almost like an allergy test almost.
Yes, exactly. Right. Like an allergy test. But no, there's no scientific evidence, not in any paper, that actually leads to it being dangerous.
Right.
And it's also, DNA vaccine, amazing thing about it is easily reproducible. Easily. Just put DNA in bacteria, right? In bioreactor, and in a day you already have 10,000 times, more than you had before.
So did anyone else want it after you? Or other people saying like, I want, give it to me as well?
Well, I had a lot of people, I know Josiah and David as well, will text and be like, hey, I wasn't going to vaccinate, but I've seen your project and you all streamed and showed how you do it. And I actually know I would get a vaccine from you. That, that
wait a second. So, but people would not get a vaccine, even though they now know how it works.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't understand people. I just don't understand.
Yeah,
the hesitancy on that. I guess, I suppose it's just a different frame of reference, but to me, it's like, if I were to get sick, I would go to a local hospital and I would get looked after, which is what most people would do. That same hospital is telling me I should get vaccinated, so I'm going to get vaccinated. I just that was my perspective on it. Was that not yours? You don't feel the same way?
I was like, because at that point there was no vaccine available. And I was like, I look at statistics in Ukraine, and it's like, oh my gosh, people are dying. So many people are dying. And at that point, a lot of people I knew died from COVID. And I'm like, okay, this is no joke. Because at first it was kind of like, first 3 months, everything shut down, but you didn't even know a person who had COVID, right? Everyone's just scared, but you don't really know even anyone who had COVID. But then it kind of got in a summary, like, okay, oh, this person died. I knew this person. Now they're not here because of the COVID. And you're kind of like, and vaccines are not, not, there yet. And also in Ukraine, if
Ukraine doesn't have vaccines yet.
We have Pfizer, Moderna, and some AstraZeneca, but not the Ukrainian manufactured vaccine, which I actually,
we don't have a Canadian one either, though. We don't have a Canadian one either.
Yeah, which I sent the samples of DNA to different scientists in Ukraine. I was like, hey, can you make this available for everyone? It's so easy to we can recreate this and vaccinate everyone. But they're like, no.
Really?
Well, other people, there's still, right now, a lot of people dying in Ukraine of COVID because just like not enough vaccines, because it's only first world countries get all the vaccines. And now they're, I got vaccinated with Moderna in Austin before Canada. I spent 3 months in Austin working with Josiah and David.
Did you really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic. Oh my God. That's so much fun.
I know. And like,
between Josiah and David, I'm very jealous. That's fantastic.
You should
those
be.
two
I'm even jealous of myself.
Yeah. Wow. That's invaluable.
That's incredible. And like, because like I had to go to Canada after that. And I was like, they're not going to accept the are you vaccinated? Because you need to be vaccinated to enter Canada.
Yeah, I did it myself.
Just,
they're not going to buy that.
Yeah, they're probably going to get lost, girl. So I got Moderna. So now I'm like, I have 4 doses of vaccine and I had COVID, so I'm 5x, immunity. Yeah,
you're in pretty good shape. I got the AstraZeneca. They gave the AstraZeneca to all the old guys like me. So, but it's the old, there's a part of me that I didn't have a choice. So I was just like, I'll get whatever I get. And what does my kid used to be told? I get what I get and I don't get upset. So I went in and I got it done. But the guy literally said, oh yeah, no, these expired last week, but it's okay. They've extended it. And then jabbed my arm and I'm like, okay.
That's interesting. At least he should have said that after he did it.
Yeah, I was like, thanks for that. But it was, and again, that was just organized by the company as well, where they're just like, look, they had their COVID experts. We are so strict on the PPE and stuff here. So when you're on set, you've got face masks and shields and all sorts of stuff. Then the actors take everything off and do their scenes. So again, rendering some of it useless, but at least the crew is at least protected all the time.
Yeah, and
so you got vaccinated in the States so that you could then come to Canada.
Yeah, 2 doses of Moderna. And when I was getting my second one, the guy who was, they're explaining to you what it does. I'm like, okay, I know what it does. But, you just sit quietly and wait for them to.
Right.
And then he was like, you might need to get a 3rd dose and even 4 doses total, just so it, it boosts your immunity and it's just better. And I'm like, but there's no scientific proof of it. He's like, no, there's like papers. I'm like, no, there's no papers. I know, I researched this. There's no papers of it being more,
so even the guy giving you the vaccination is not up.
And you know what he did when I was singing? I was like, I researched. And he was like, he looked me in the face and he was like, okay, next. I don't have time.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm while in Ukraine, only 8% of people are vaccinated.
8?
Yes, 8% who had 2 doses of COVID vaccine.
Oh my God.
Because vaccines are just not really that available. And especially before. Now it's better. Now you can actually get one. Just like if you're just a normal person, you can actually get one. I was like,
our Ukrainian friends are very skeptical. They don't want to get vaccinated.
Oh, really? Well, I
don't know I wondered if it was related to just her history with people in power or whatever.
Not necessarily Ukraine. We have pretty high rates of just vaccination in everything, like polio and everything, right? It's like people get like.
So it was more access than it was.
Yeah, it was more access. And I'm like, now you all want like 4 doses of vaccine while, like it's Ukraine, like a 2nd world country. What about 3rd world countries? What do they get? And you're like, so while first world countries get like 5 doses of vaccine, other countries get 0.
Why can't we just teach them to do what you've done with the DNA? I mean,
but it's also, why can't you distribute like 1 dose to everyone, and then it's going to be probably more efficient than just 2 doses or like 3 doses to like just a group of people.
Well, because of business and politics, I guess.
Of course, because like how much money would they like Pfizer or Moderna get?
I think we are going to learn some horrible things as the years go by about how the money has changed hands on this stuff. We shut down the Canadians apparently shut down their lab for vaccination research a number of years ago, because basically it was privatized and then the money is not in Canada for meds. I mean, you need to be in the States if you're going to make any money. So I think it was sort of folded into some American group. But
what do you mean? Are you stating that pharma companies just want money and not cure everyone?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I feel like I feel like the individual people are still human and empathetic, and they still have, I don't think they're necessarily bad people at these companies, but I think that there is a tendency for companies, when people become groups of people, they become, it's easy to sort of deny or be unaware of some of the things that are going on. And if you've got a company that's just based on profits and getting money back to shareholders and stuff, it does make a big difference. I mean, it doesn't seem right to me that, I don't understand. We have one of the issues we have here. So one of my friends has SMA type 2, spinal muscular atrophy. And there are treatments available for that now. Not that will necessarily cure him in any miraculous way, but that could certainly stop or slow the degenerative quality of the disease. But he has to apply for it, and it's only meant for people who really need it. And I was like, who doesn't really need it? Which person with SMA doesn't really need, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, it's really expensive. It's like $500,000 a dose. And I'm like, so what? We have a healthcare. The whole point of Canada is that we have a healthcare system that is supposed to look after everyone, but it's not, because again, there's money involved, right? So.
Yeah, or like how in States, like people literally travel to Canada to get insulin because
they were getting
30
a lot of
times
medicine was being
as expensive.
Yeah,
like here, I think a dose is like $20, $30, but I'm pretty sure like it's insane in America. Like people just don't even have access to insulin or they spend a lot of money because it's just. Well, it's patented there, and they just raised the price. And I think it's like 2014 or something. They just raised
What about
it.
What about the open insulin project, though? I mean,
it's not that I heard anything from them lately, to be honest. Like, I think the idea is amazing.
Oh, it's a great idea. I mean, there's actually a documentary that I had thought I'd sort of put to bed, and that I didn't think I was going to do it. And then a filmmaker approached us and said, "Look, I'd like to see what you're doing with that." And so she's sort of taken it on now. But the appeal for her, the sense I get, part of the appeal for her is that she has diabetes. So she has a lot of this technology, assistive technology that she's using. There's a documentary on assistive technology. And so she's just got a taste for this assistive technology stuff and the whole idea of how these technologies can be developed and used by people. So it's, I mean, it's money. Yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, the insulin project, they can do this stuff. What they're using? Don't they have like some kind of bacteria that's now creating the insulin, or is it I can't remember what it is.
Well, that's how just everyone creates insulin right now. They used to use pigs,
Yeah, they should just take it out of animals, didn't they?
Yeah, because pigs are pretty close to humans, just genetically, and kind of the behavior also. And so they used to, in like 70s, I don't know, 60s, they used to take insulin out of pigs, right? Kill pigs, get the insulin from them. After genetic engineering, started, being a bigger thing, they just modified E. coli bacteria with you just put a gene of human insulin. So now you have E. coli producing human insulin. So then you just have
quite considerable amounts, right? I mean, you can do huge amounts. It's very effective. Yeah.
Very effective. Yes. And
no pigs die.
No pigs die. And it's also, it's more compatible with humans because a lot of people had side effects from pigs' insulin, which is, I mean,
oh, right. Of course, because you're literally creating human insulin. You're creating exactly the right thing with it, aren't you?
Yeah. You just need to purify that, the protein and just like not have any pieces of bacteria left because that would, not be nice. But yeah, it's pretty like it's a solid and easy technique and just method that you can recreate. You can recreate it. Just like, what do you need? Just like a gene and just transform bacteria. Like everyone can do it. You can do it. Just like order right stuff and you can do it.
Here's the funny thing though, is I think that once you know how to do things, there's an illusion of simplicity to these things where I think that that it's simple for you because you've done it. I think for other people, it's overwhelming because they haven't.
Well, I think it's just a stigma around genetic engineering that you have to be super smart or super capable to do it, which is not necessarily true.
Yeah, it's true. It's like that's that computer thing as well, where it's, oh, he's a computer genius. It's like, what does that mean anymore? I don't even know what that means.
I know,
what
computer. Yeah, my
kid's
grandma.
a computer genius.
Yeah, my grandma thinks I'm a computer genius just because I can put on her program, TV program on a laptop, and she's like, wow.
My son thinks I'm a computer idiot. And of course, as I explained to him, I said, dude, you know that I've been around longer than computers. Like I've watched them grow. I've been a part of computers since they arrived on this
dinosaur.
Yeah. So, but he's like, Dad, you're an idiot. Which he's probably not wrong on a lot of that, but
that's hard.
It's the biohacking stuff is fascinating because I think, as we were saying, like there are so many potential places where this stuff can be used to inspire kids to do this stuff further on. Which is all my Tech Bandits thing is all about. That it's like, it's not about teaching anyone anything. I gave up on teaching ages ago with them because I suck as a teacher. I'm just really good at getting excited about stuff. Like I just find this stuff absolutely fascinating. And that for some reason is somewhat contagious in that if I get excited about stuff, I think kids can often get excited about it as well. So my goal is just to find these little things that might just spark an interest enough, because once they've got that interest, you know this, right? I mean, once you're interested in something, all the information's out there, you know? Yeah. And there's no amount of telling people to go and look for it that will work unless they're excited to do it. I mean, so what, let me guess, YouTube? Like where did you start with this stuff?
Almost like, I was 17 when I started doing biohacking. I'm 21 now. So right. I just got into university, and I applied for biotech. So, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, always wanted to do biology, always dreamed about bio. And I was like, biotech, I was very naive, and I was like, I'll change the world. I'll do something super cool. Right.
Right.
And I was like, I can't wait to go to university and do actual science. And then I got into university. And there's no actual science. And you see how corrupted the system is. And even if you're very passionate, they'll kind of be like, get lost, girl.
Really?
Yeah. And after first semester, I was pretty depressed. I was so sad because I was
Is that a female thing, or is that just an age thing?
Not necessarily. I think it's both. And also just like we have this dying educational system that's a leftover from Soviet Union, and just like not a lot of people are just interested. They're like, oh, Ukraine is doomed, or like, just like all the bright minds just leave Ukraine and go to US or Canada or Europe, right?
It used to be that all the Canadian brains went to the States.
Yeah.
I was always concerned about that too. I think it's changed a little bit. I think Trump helped that.
Oh yeah. I feel like now it's otherwise.
I feel there's a few more Americans up here now, I find.
So interesting. I was really sad. And then my brother actually told me about biohacking. He's like, there's people building labs in their garages and their kitchens. And I was like, this is insane. He showed me one of the documentaries on like YouTube about Josiah. I think it was Gut Hack. I was like, wow, this dude is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I would never want to be.
Well, he is nuts, to be fair, but you've got to be nuts to sort of, if you're going to lead the revolution, you've got to be pretty far.
He's incredibly nuts and thoughtful, which is a great combination for a genius. So I was like,
well, he's like a conservative. He's like a conservative, crazy guy, and that he's very good about making sure that there's science behind whatever he does. He doesn't just leap into these things. He knows his stuff before he does.
He knows. He has a PhD in biophysics, which is like I don't know other people who have PhD in biophysics. So
yeah, and who used to work at NASA as well. I love that.
Yeah,
NASA was boring, so I started my own company. I'm like,
isn't that the most badass thing?
Yeah. Well, that's what I heard that, and I was like, I have to meet this guy. I want to meet this guy. Absolutely. And then he sent me, like, he's amazing. I mean, I did his Biohacking 101. I signed up for his, I did not his, but his company, the Odin do these great courses. I did one on mushroom cultivation. My new thing is mycelium. I'm kind of in love with mycelium right now.
I just fell in love with mushrooms.
Oh my God. It's pretty neat. I mean, I do the boring edible mushrooms, but I'm not into the brain changing crap, but I'm confused enough as it is already. I don't need any help with that. But it's, that stuff, because it's very immediate, right? What I like about mycelium is that
it's immediate. It's a biomaterial. You can do so many things with it.
Yeah. And you see results very quickly. I'm very impatient. So I like seeing things happen right away. And you can very quickly see that telltale fuzziness of mycelium working their way through.
It's not like
sterile.
bacteria. You wait for it to grow in a petri dish and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't know what happened, but I guess it happened. That's kind of what it is. But it was much, because I spent 3 months at in Austin, because Theoden moved from Auckland to Austin.
How's the new facility? What's he set up? Is he still set up in his house, or is he got a actual space now?
It's an actual nice space, right? It's big. And we were working on it for 3 months. So, and Josiah is actually right now, he's making a documentary like of his own. He's making TV series. He's making his
own documentary.
Yes, he's making his own TV series.
Oh, good.
He crowdfunded it and he's a director and everything is going to be about biohacking.
I'm so out of it. I feel so bad. I haven't been, because I would totally have helped out on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
You can still help him. I feel like, there's always help because, and first episode is going to be me, Josiah, and David. So it's going to be my debut.
Talking about vaccines?
About everything, right? We do. Yeah. And so we're like, half of my day was at the Odin, putting the walls, painting, I don't know, just like.
Oh, really? He had you working on the construction. Oh my God. That's
yeah, because he invited me to go to Austin. I was like, great. I'm like, but can I work? I don't want to just, sit there and just do nothing. Yeah. For me, the best thing when you're traveling is actually traveling and working. It's just much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I always prefer. I love. There's nothing like working on location because you get to meet and you're embedded. You're a part of whatever's going on wherever you are in a way that you just aren't if you're like a tourist. Yeah,
and me and David, we built something that never happened in biohacking community before. So we built a lab at the Odin. It's a micro injection setup. So that little lab, we call it cell room. First of all, we're working there for real fake meat that we're doing. So we're growing fake meat. Me and Josiah made some chicken cutlets in a flask.
So you're growing them. You're growing actual chicken, but in a petri dish, basically.
Yeah,
like test tube chicken. All right.
Yes. So they're just their cells keep reproducing, and then the most exciting thing is actually we have a micro injection setup, which is this setup allows you to do in vitro fertilization and also modify embryos.
Oh, wow. You're in Texas. Look out.
Yeah,
Texas, not the best place to be dealing with any kind of fetal stuff. Wow. That's what my father used to do, right? My father was OB-GYN and specialized in. Yeah, he was he would go and visit. We'd go for holidays and he would go to the dairy farms because they were well in advance with all of the in vitro stuff that they were doing. And so he specialized in fertility and was experimenting a lot with the test tube baby stuff when it was first happening. He's since stepped back and decided, he's retired now, but he stepped back and said the problem was everyone was suddenly doing in vitro. It was the answer to everything. And people weren't doing simple things like do a blood test and discover, oh, you're low on whatever. And then you change that and you're pregnant the next month, as opposed to we got to go spend $100,000 on test on in vitro and this and that and on shots. And so he became obsessed with the idea that the environment and honestly rest. Relaxation was a big part of it as well. Like he's like, you're not going to get pregnant if you never have sex. If you never have time, you'll never going to get pregnant, right? So, and it's just amazing how wrong people got that process as well. Like people just assumed, we're like judging the numbers wrong. As he was really big into that when it first happened, and has sort of stepped back from it. But interesting. So you could literally be doing work. Wow.
Yeah. So, and now we have some zebrafish there that we're breeding, and we're getting eggs because they're, they just lay eggs and you just collect them. So you collect little embryos of zebrafish, and we injected them so we just started learning how to inject, how to do all this stuff because there's no tutorials on YouTube how to micro inject your embryo to modify.
There will be.
Yeah. So we had to learn all this and just I definitely exploded, just like a few embryos when we were filming. So there's camera crews and everyone. Right. Okay, Daria, do your first injection. And I do it. And the whole embryo, it literally looks like, the Death Star just like, annihilated
of course.
It's just
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Right.
oh, that was cool. So
Yeah.
we just started learning to like just inject it, but David tried to inject them with some GFP stuff, so we have some glowing fishies.
Oh, right. Yeah.
No,
Now you look, you're talking to a complete and utter, noob on this stuff. I read a lot of stuff. I've not done a lot of it, but
I don't think you're a noob. If you had completed some Odin classes, you're pretty advanced, in my opinion.
I have an understanding, but it's the practical stuff that I miss. Like I have a little bio bench that I keep intending on getting to, and the intention was to get the kids doing the stuff, but it's just, as I say, right now, it's just not the best time. It's also hard to convince people that it's a good idea for their kids to come and visit and do biotech in the basement with the crazy guy from Stargate. So it's, I've got a bit of a publicity issue there. Although our friends, I mean, I've got a couple of our friends' kids who are sort of, I think would be quite up for some of the stuff. But yeah, I loved Josiah really sort of sold me on all this stuff when he talked about it. Like, why aren't there bio versions of electronics kits? Like, why aren't kids not playing with what is going to be the biggest, one of the single largest, sources of change in their future? I mean, this is especially now.
Oh yeah,
especially
I agree. Especially now, I feel like everyone's now like, okay, I guess we kind of missed out on biotech. We need to invest more, learn more.
Exactly. All right, but sorry, as always, I've gone completely off topic. So you were going to explain to me. So the biofluorescence, I get this wrong.
It's almost not. It's just fluorescence. Yeah.
Fluorescence, right? So but you are basically giving them this jellyfish DNA that would then gets taken up by these zebrafish embryos.
Cells, yeah.
So they exhibit that when they're born.
Yeah, so they start expressing, and not necessarily even when they're born. It could just happen even still when they're, just a little egg or larva.
Oh, you see it in the egg as well? Oh, of course, yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, but I don't think we had success in that because we still kind of kill them. But
you're saying you're not having success because the injection is still not effective?
We're just learning about everything, how it works. There's no 101 about it, that you can just take a course or something. But yeah, we will.
So you're basically just jabbing at zebrafish eggs, trying to see what works and what doesn't.
Pretty much. And now we're looking
for. How small are these needles we're talking about?
Oh, they're like, if you're gonna poke yourself with them, you're not even gonna feel them. So they basically, it's like it's a glass tube that they just pull. And you can order them or just pull them yourself, and you just pull until it's like it's teeny, and you inject picoliters of DNA.
Wow.
Not microliters. Wow. Picoliters. They're still.
And what is the contraption that's allowing you to do that? Like, what is it?
So you have expensive? Yes, it's right now it's pretty expensive. Just I think the whole setup for us cost like $2,000, but it's a microscope. You need a microscope for that, obviously. You need a microscope for that. You need a micro injector. So you have the needle, right? But you need to like inject it somehow and inject the right volume. I don't think you can just like, blow on it and it's gonna,
yeah.
You have
I don't think that, not gonna work.
So there's a micro injection setup, which is like, it requires nitrogen gas. So it's like, it's pneumatic and super, advanced. So you kind of program it, you press a button and it like injects. And you also have to, like, the other hard part is about how do you get needle to the egg. So you have this microcontroller, it's called micro manipulator. And we got one that's actually a joystick. So it has XYZ axis, and you pull the joystick and the needle travels towards the egg. Of
course. Yeah.
It's forbidden.
And I guess it's taking your big clumsy human response and making it and basically the opposite of an amplifier.
Yeah.
It's making it
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Exactly.
Wow.
So then get to the and then you have to realize there's like no pressure because the egg's just gonna just escape. Because I was just chasing.
Oh, right. Of course, you got to trap it somehow, don't you?
Yeah, there needs to be like a little bit of just like, it's hard. So we just poured some agar plates You just like put them, wind them up, and just try to stabbing them.
And you've not successfully done it. You've managed to do it. You just
We
haven't
managed
had
to-
success.
Yeah, we managed to like now get liquid in there or DNA, and they survive and they develop and they develop in like 3 days. So from like
Really?
one cell stage to a hatched baby, it takes 3 to 5 days for them.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like the what is the little flies that they use for genetic stuff.
Yeah,
It's so easy to
fruit
see.
flies.
Yeah,
So
the fruit
you
flies.
can
Yeah.
inject your embryo on Monday, and by Friday have already hatched, baby.
Wow.
Possibly, expressing whatever genes you wanted them to
Now,
express.
what are the ethical and legal issues here?
I don't know.
Well,
Well,
because
I'm
that's
sure there's not.
in a way that's going to be your biggest. That's going to. I mean, the technology you can.
With
you can just
zebrafish,
keep.
there's no. You can inject the. It's
Right.
basically super expensive caviar. Like you're fine.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Some GFP caviar, and yeah, so there's no no issues, at least in Austin, Texas. But yeah, it's fun. We've been playing with that.
I know that we were allowed to. I had a friend come and he brought his wife is an arachnologist and has the largest collection of black widow spiders in the world, and just amazing couple. Like he's a specialist in the audiology of insects, like how they can hear and the techniques they use for, like, how does a tiny fly hear the sound of a grasshopper if the size of the wave of sound coming at them is larger than their ears? So they wouldn't. It's like us trying to figure out where bass sound is coming from, right?
Yeah.
So if you hear bass, it's very difficult to get a sense of direction because it's a low frequency sound. Imagine how low frequency the sound must be of a grasshopper chirping to a tiny little fly that's trying to put its larva on the back of this thing by firing at it. It's really neat. So again, amazing couple. But he brought a laser vibrometer. You must use that. Do we use that in biohacking at all?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so it's a laser that you convert the laser movement into sound.
Whoa.
So they use it in things like if you're spying on someone, you could shine a laser at a window and it'll pick up any of the vibration on the window will be picked up and can be translated into sound back in your ears. So spies used to use it, but it's used a lot in for just basically picking up sounds that you wouldn't hear any other way. And so we were firing these lasers at the spiders and the webs, and you could hear them. You could actually hear them sort of like gnawing on their web or eating a grasshopper. It's really cool. So we did this in school.
It's forbidden ASMR. I'm pretty sure there's
exactly
that on YouTube.
Very much so. If there isn't, oh my God, that's a really good point. There could be a whole Black Widows ASMR channel.
You should do that.
That is huge. That's brilliant. That's it.
You take that idea.
Your podcast is already paid for itself. I got to ask about that. That'd be quite funny, actually. There was a group that turned spider webs into music. They used it to initiate some kind of it sounded a bit hippie to me, but the issue we got into, this will relate back to you in a second, was that we're allowed to do that with spiders and insects. If we had done that with mice, we would not have been allowed to do it because there are very clear rules on what you're allowed to experiment on. Yeah, very, because Canada love their rules. Because one of my little Tech Bandit kids came up to me and said, like, this is illegal. And I was like, is it? Because we'd brought 5 black widow spiders into a school. There was no room for us in the school for us to. Oh yeah.
So they allow you to bring black widow spiders in a school
but not
full of kids,
mice.
But okay,
but not mice. Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Okay.
technically, it wasn't illegal. And what was funny is we also, because there was no room for us for our Tech Bandits there, we had to set up in the hallway at lunch. So we're at lunch in a hallway with 5 black widow spiders. So I put tape up around us and said, like, let's not cross that line just in case. But the teachers were freaking out about it. It was so great. I realized how many issues I have with leftover from school, this holdover of like resentment towards the establishment in school.
Yeah.
but the kids loved it, of course, because it's lasers, it's spiders, it's, I lost most of my fear of spiders in that one little session, because I really have an issue with spiders and insects.
I can pass out.
Oh, really?
Yes. If it's pretty scary enough, I'll be like, oh, I need to sit down. I can't.
These were so beautiful. Like, they truly were. Like, they're like, if someone said to you, okay, you are God, go and create a deadly spider. This is what you would design. It's an almost metallic black surface. It's got this little red. It's just, they are stunning, absolutely stunning. And they don't leap out of the box at you. None of the boxes had tops on them. They're all just open. And of course, the principal came in and said, like, shouldn't they have lids on? I was like, well, no, you can't have lids on. We can't fire the laser through the lid. You have to be able to fire the laser.
Oh my gosh.
So
you said it to a principal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it so much telling her that.
I did. And she was, to be honest, I really, like, the teachers were great about it. And they could see how, we had most of the school in the hallway for lunch, because
of course, like shooting laser at Black Widow. Come on.
Yeah.
Even adults would be like, okay, I want to see what's going on.
That's it. I mean, like,
that's
I want to do it
the
again.
nerdiest thing I ever heard. And I love it.
It's so great. And we also set it up through the PA system. So it was like, when they ate, it was like the school was being shaken by it's fascinating. But again, that's bio and tech. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yes.
I think my little window into this stuff for me is, I love the idea of trying to figure out your micro injection thing, because I go, like, that's where robotics and electronics and coding meets the bio side of stuff. You know what I mean? There's that wonderful.
It's literally a robotic arm that, like,
we're
gonna inject it's insane. I love it. It's like, it's so beautiful.
I agree.
And I'm also a huge nerd, but it's so beautiful.
We all got to geek out about something. Everyone geeks out about something.
I know, right? No king shaming, no nerd shaming.
No. I mean, that's the funny thing is, I mean, my joke is that everyone geeks out about something. I geek out about everything. Like, I just love learning stuff I didn't know before, or learning more about something I didn't know, or,
at the Odin, David was usually the guy that also always had an answer to any question. It would be like talking about spicy food, and he's like, it's actually because blah, 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 blah. And we're like, wow, how do you know? You didn't Google, and it's actually correct. Like, every time he says it, like, you're probably on the shoot, you're the guy telling everyone else, like, there's like other actors trying to get focused, and you're like, that if you shoot a laser at a Black Widow.
People think people do not know what to do with me. They don't, because I just.
And then Jason Momoa is like, what?
Well, luckily Jason knows me quite well. So it's funny. He's, I mean, it was lovely to see him again. Actually, it's nice. We haven't seen.
Because it's like, I'm pretty sure you guys, okay, it's a nerd fangirl moment, but I watched Stargate as a kid growing up. Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and because he was, Jason was there, and also you were there, and now there's new series on Apple TV, right?
See? That's C. Yep.
And it's now again, you guys reunited.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I hardly saw him. I only saw him for a few days because they had to shoot all of his stuff out so he could get on another show. So, but yeah, we saw, and Flanagan as well. Flanagan came in for a couple of days as well. So it's lovely. It's lovely, and Jason. I mean, Jason made it happen. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't have happened without him.
That's really sweet.
Lovely guy. That's funny. Well, I mean, Stargate, we touched on some of this stuff, but not, I just feel like there's so much further to go with it. I'm also a little nervous about the fact that, well, like I talked about it at the biohacking convention, I'm really worried about the publicity, that's the doorbell.
Nice.
I'm worried that it's getting a bad rap, and my concern is that it's being, turned into this kind of terrible, evil thing that
I agree. But that's why, I feel like it's also, we do some crazy stuff, but like, is it crazy to make a vaccine and teach people about it when it's like 99% safe? but nothing is 100% safe, right? Drinking Coke is
No.
not 100% safe.
But probably more likely
So
to kill
that's
you,
why
but
we
yeah.
do it responsibly, right? Because there are
Mm.
people like Aaron Tralick. You probably heard about him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I,
Was
when
he
I
the guy who died in the
sensory
in the-
deprivation tank,
yeah.
there was a lot of controversy there. And and I started out doing biohacking, that this stuff happens, and I'm like, first he injects himself with the herpes vaccine and all this stuff with HIV vaccine and like immune therapy. And I was like, okay, I don't like where it's going, right? I'm like, I'm starting this and I have good intentions, and I don't want it to be sketchy. I don't want it to be right. But that's why, you just keep doing and keep showing people your example of, how to do it responsibly, what's actually bullshit, what's not. And I love that now, Josiah, because there's been so many documentaries about, there's been like a natural selection, a huge Netflix thing.
Yeah.
It's like David and Josiah.
It's still lots of shots of biohackers in green light, and
I know it's like the color correcting and everything. I'm like, there's David in his lab, and the lighting is like so suspicious, so evil, right? And it's funny. Like I laughed about it. And then those Citizen Bio, it's about Aaron Tralick and also Josiah and David. And I'm like, oh, this is even worse, because like they just literally, you can see all the lamps just like shining at them, just making it dramatic. I don't mind the lighting, right? It can be really nice to like
and they have to be. It's the same thing with hackers. This is the same thing, right?
Yeah,
hackers
but like it's too much. It's like, it's not tasteful, in my opinion. And then you see Josiah being sick of it. He's like, you know what? And after being deplatformed on YouTube, he's like, except for instead of being just like, oh, this is so sad, like I'm sad, right? And being deplatformed, should probably quit or something. He's like, you know what? Screw you all. I'm gonna make my own TV show, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's smart. It's the way to go. I mean, I think, look, the web is also moving to a new format. Not format, is moving in a more or less centralized version now anyways. So I think that the next Facebook or whatever that exists will not have any kind of central authority to it. The whole point of the internet
guidelines.
I mean, now, unfortunately, with that will come even more of the nonsense as well, because as everyone knows, I could send out 1,000 fascinating tweets that are all false in an hour, but it would take me a long time to properly research and post something that is of valid use to people, right? So you're faced with an internet that's just full of crap for the most part. But that's smart. That's really smart of them.
Yeah, I agree. Because there's still, there's like so many guidelines right now. You post something about COVID, you always get like a warning on like Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. But like it doesn't stop people from, what happened in like Capitol and in America.
And conspiracy theorists, like, if you try to shut down conspiracy theorists,
QAnon, right? Or like anti-vax, they're still, they're thriving.
Well, if you try to shut down a conspiracy, it becomes a part of the conspiracy, right? I mean, that's always seems to be the way it works.
So it's not helping.
I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I really don't. I think that, as you say, the best thing you can do is find your science and learn as much about it as you possibly can.
And just be a good example.
What is it that drew it to you? Like, what sort of went like, oh my God, I have to do that?
About biohacking? Well, because like I saw the state of Ukrainian universities, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, right? Our educational system.
Oh shoot! Hang on. Sorry. Do you mind? Can we pause for 1 second?
Sure, of course.
Oh no, I can't tell whether it's people. We've got some people working upstairs. I'm not sure if someone trying to get in the house or whether it's someone who's
sure,
able to lock themselves out or something. Feel free to talk amongst yourself. Sorry, 2 seconds. Sorry, all good. It's just banging. I'm not used to that. We've got some people working on. Shamefully, about 9 months ago, I took apart a bathroom in the hopes of renovating it. Yeah, haven't got to that yet. My wife's still with me though.
That's good.
So what was it that got you? What sort of sparked your interest in this stuff originally, do you think?
I always loved bio. I was like, when I was a kid, I would spend, I was like there was like 3 kids of us growing up in Ukraine, not much to do, parents working all the time to provide for us. three little mouths. So, and my brothers are older, so I would just like always just hang out in the backyard with our dog and just explore what's there. Right. And dog was kind of like looking after me so I don't get in trouble.
You were raised by dogs.
That's gonna be the title, raised by dogs.
Yeah.
So I always loved, and then like my favorite TV shows. We didn't have a lot of TV channels on so we had like one channel where I always see Stargate.
Right.
There was second
There's always
channel.
one. Yeah.
There's and then I think second, there was like 3 channels, and the others were like something political and super boring. Of course, as a kid, I wasn't watching it. And the third one was like Nat Geo and like Discovery kind of documentaries.
Oh yeah, which I love. Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up on that, and obviously, you're like, this is the most fascinating thing ever.
Huh. But was your interest always in the microbiology side of stuff, or?
I was, just like in nature in general. But then when I was, come to time for me to decide my like career path, my future path, I was like, there's not much going in zoology or even microbiology, right? Because like it's just, what's the most progressive thing? What's the thing that can help people and be super advanced? And then I was like, okay, biotech. And I was like, okay, CRISPR. And there's so much stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I guess genetic engineering biotech is going to be my thing.
Right.
And yeah, that's how I decided. And then I got into university, and and they weren't glad about what I was doing. I got really, gatekeeped. I got bullied for doing biohacking. I got like, I was called bioterrorist by Ukrainian media and all that. And it only hardened my passion for what I'm doing. And I'm like, because it's still, like that. I guess it's just maybe it's, I don't know. Do you have ADHD?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I can tell by our conversation, because it's like we can never stay in one topic for longer than 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm afraid that's
2 people with ADHD trying to have a conversation.
I was funny. It was no surprise to me, but I was diagnosed literally in the last like 5 years.
Whoa. Yeah. And I was just like,
it was always a superpower to me.
Yeah, it is, because you're like, screw you, authority. I'm gonna do what I like. When someone's just like, you can do it, you're like, I am going to do it.
Yeah,
and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it.
So, did you remain at university? Like, did you finish the university?
I just finished it this summer. I'm surprised they didn't kick me out. They tried to do lots of things. Right. One of the professors tried to sue me because in one of my interviews, I told about her. So she was kind of like a bright professor when I got into university. She was teaching molecular biology and immunology, right? Pretty cool stuff, pretty exciting. And at first, when I just started, I was like, I told her that I started biohacking, right? I modified my first E. coli and all that stuff. And I was like, my mind was blown that I could do it at home and they can do it at university, right? They don't even have the stuff to do it. Because like the material, they lack materials really, really hard.
Right.
And so, and she was kind of like, okay, that's cool. I support you. And we even wrote like a paper together. But then, she kind of went crazy. At first she was like, you're too public about it. You shouldn't be talking. What you do is grassroots science. You shouldn't be doing that. And then in one of the lectures on immunology, or actually it wasn't a lecture, it was a lab. We're making a lab about discovering our blood types. Right. So everyone did a blood test on their own and she was like, okay, what's your blood type? And I was like, AB positive. She's like, who also had AB blood? I was like, I don't know, you. And how do I know? I don't know, my mom.
Yeah.
Like, who else? She's like, Jesus Christ. And I was like, well, okay, right? Well, okay. Yeah. How can you know?
How would you know that?
Well, I guess they collected some, but like, okay. I was like, a lot of people are religious in Ukraine. And I mean, I'm also Christian, but I was like, okay, that's kind of weird to talk about it in the science class. And then she was like, why he had AB positive? No, he had AB negative because he came from the planet Nibiru, because he was one of the alien, warriors that came to, it went from zero.
What?
You went from a zero. There was something about reptiloids and stuff like that. You went from a zero.
Oh my God, is she Dianetics? Is it Dianetics thing?
I don't know. It was just crazy. And everyone in the class was like, what is going on? What the heck is that? So
did she just have like a breakdown or something?
I don't know,
Or
it
what?
looked like a break, and someone was trying to be like, what? And she was like, get out of like the lab, and she was
Oh
really
my-
mad about it. But everyone was like, some people were laughing, some people were like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to react to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not sure I would know how to react to that.
So I'm like, in one of the interviews to big Ukrainian media, I told about that because they were asking me about Ukrainian educational system. I'm like, look at this. So they're saying that I'm not doing science or not doing it properly when they, there's a professor at university saying teaching this to kids, right?
Yeah.
And it got super viral, this article, and then she called me. She was like, I'm gonna freaking sue you, prepare to die and stuff like that. I wish I recorded that call. But yeah.
Wow.
And and then I go to university, and our not a dean, but like kind of like someone's that's kind of in charge of stuff in our department. She was like, I thought she'll be like, that's true, we'll take it in our matters, right? We'll make sure we talk to her or something like that. She was like, how dare you talk about this to media, right? You should have come to me first. How it will our university look now? And I'm like, well, it's not my fault that our university looks like this, because I didn't do it. And she was like, oh yeah, it was tough. Get definitely bullied like in front of other students, or they'll be telling students specifically not to talk to me, or like not to hang out with me because I'm a crazy person with a lab and stuff like that. But thankfully, when you tell that to like 20-year-old kids, they'll be like, who is this person?
Who is that? I want to go hang out with that person. Yeah.
That's exactly how it worked.
Oh, the grown-up said I shouldn't hang out with you. What are you doing tonight? Yeah, exactly.
You want to have a beer and like modify bacteria.
I wonder if I know one of the things I found whenever I had to work with people, when I did any sort of technology stuff years and years ago, more of the computer related stuff, there was always this sort of fear that you were going to be usurped by, I always got the sense from older people doing this stuff that if you, instead of, like, I get excited when I don't know something. Like, to me, it's like, that's an opportunity. When I go like, I don't know that, that's fantastic. Like, to me, it's like, then I learned something today. If I knew everything all day, then I'm no better today. Right. I mean, so I've always felt that way.
Especially in science, you should feel that way.
But that's it. I mean, whereas I kept coming up against people who always had, like, it was like, no, that's just not the way it's done. It's like, yeah, but then why isn't it done that way? Like, why don't we push against that instead of just going, what can you do?
I think it's just like a Soviet afterprint, because like I can see it in my parents, but my parents are like great. They're very like anti-Soviet, but a lot of people are still kind of, they're scared, especially like older people, because they lived in Soviet Union. I was born in free Ukraine, right? Because I don't have like in a free country where I can say whatever I want or do whatever I want, unless it harms other people, right?
Right.
But they were in a completely different environment when they're my age. They're always being told like, be quiet, not draw attention, just do what you're told, and all that stuff. Right.
It's hard to lose that.
Yeah. So I'm blaming it on that. And they had an actual fear. And
you're still in the shadow of, I mean, Russia is still very interested in Ukraine, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. There's still war going on. And I live in Dnipro, which is like 200 kilometers from the war zone. I've been there. I've been translating there for American doctors who are helping civilians.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's still tough. Yeah.
Wow.
No, and we're like fighting for identity, and we're, to like that we are Ukrainians. We're not Russians. We never were Russians. And we're our own country, our own culture. And, there's still this Soviet aftertaste in like older people to like, don't draw attention, just sit quietly, that stuff. Because like, if you were trying, if you weren't like that, you would just not survive, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't be around, right?
Yeah, that's what they saw, right? So I think I blame it on that, and maybe some jealousy also, but I'm not sure. Just because people keep telling me that they're just jealous, so I'm like, okay.
I think there's definitely a jealousy thing there too. People want to be, they want to be the smartest person in the room, right?
Yeah, but I'm
personally,
not.
I think it's better to be this.
Yeah, first of all, no one wants to be. I don't want to be. Like, I want to be the fun one. I want to be the crackhead. Right.
I like being the dumbest one in the room because you're always learning something.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's interesting. So I mean, because you still come against that here, and we haven't had any of that. You still have people who definitely, I guess, they fear their positions. They fear they're supposed to know. I think people mistake maybe teaching with controlling, I suppose, instead of, I think they think as a teacher, they're supposed to be the ones who know everything, when the reality is all they're really there for is to facilitate your learning. And in doing so, if you do it right, you get to learn stuff as well. I mean, that's the beauty of it to me.
Oh yeah.
There must be a part of you that goes like, that's it, I'm going to Austin to go work at the Odin.
Yeah, I was like, I need this to, to like recharge, especially after university. And I was like, I can't, and I could thank God, I graduated. I even haven't got my diploma because I was like, I'm leaving. Like the second I could leave, I left to go to Austin because I was like, I'm not even waiting one more week to just go and get my diploma when it's like printed and all that stuff. Like I still haven't gotten it. It's still at university because I was like, I'm so tired of this. I just
whatever.
Need to
it's a piece of paper.
Yeah, I was like,
piece of paper. This is real stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I got my degree in biotechnology in Ukraine. Spent 4 years learning it, right? But in Austin, in 3 months, I learned so much more than 4 years in university. Like all my knowledge.
Unfortunately, those pieces of paper are still so important, though.
Yes. And like, I'm like, all my knowledge I got is because of biohacking. And I feel so bad for people that get like my classmates in university. What do they know? They they're so not capable of doing what biotech demands from right now because they're just haven't been provided with that kind of stuff. And now I'm like,
but is there a future for that in Ukraine though? I mean,
there's a huge future. I see like this is like a West world right now. You can do whatever you want. You could be the first to do something incredible. So it's like, I'm staying here. Like, this is the fun stuff. I'm not going not going anywhere else. Like, not like, visiting Austin. That's a different thing, right? To get experience and how.
But that's great. Then you bring it back to your lab. And now, how big is the lab now? Because it was pretty small. Last time I saw it, it was a pretty small lab.
Yeah, it was like literally like my brother's bedroom, ex-bedroom, which was like 9 square meters. You were such a sister.
So as soon as you leave the house for more than a week, the damn sisters, your younger sister moves in and you don't have a room anymore. That's what happened to me.
That's just a younger sister thing to do.
Yeah.
It's actually been bullied for like,
I've got 5 younger sisters. Okay. I know it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So are you still in your brother's?
No.
Your brother's.
Okay, after Biohack the Planet, we met at Biohack the Planet in 2019, right? So it was
God, is it that long ago already? Good God.
Freaking COVID, man. Freaking COVID.
I know. I would have been back there every year since. I swear to God. Like that was my plan. That was, oh my God, the best. Are you
going?
Weekend.
You going next year? It's gonna.
I'll go for sure next year. I would go in a second. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And like and I went back to Ukraine. We rented a huge space, like 65 square meters, which is much bigger than and we're just able to grow and do teach people, go in art festivals and do genetic engineering.
How do you pay for it? How do you cover it? How do you cover the expenses?
Right now we have Patreon.
Good.
So we receive.
Patreon's pretty great.
Patreon's
they take a chunk though, don't they? They take a fair chunk of the.
I wouldn't say it's much, honestly. It's pretty. It's
my agent gets more, so it's I'm kind of used to.
No, they don't get more than we do. But for like the last 4 months, like we've been paying our rent fully just by Patreon.
Oh, that's great.
It's not me like in the end of the month being like, oh shoot, where do I get the money? right.
Like
what do I need to do right now to get that money? Not in that way, but
and you're doing classes. Are you doing virtual classes or are you doing actual classes? Like
both.
Both. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Because like we want to like just get it out there, and it's a biohacker space. People can come in, do their stuff, learn, and that's what I want my basement. That's what I want my basement to do. I want the kids to be able to come in when they want to and work on stuff, but preferably without burning the house down. So I may have to consider a different space because I just don't know. Yeah. And now we're gonna move to a bigger event space when I come back, because I haven't been in Ukraine for like 3.5 months, almost 4 months, because I've been away.
Oh wow!
Well, my lab.
How many people are running this thing?
Well, I have a team of like 6 people. That's like a core Yanelab core. So they do stuff. They're kind of like.
Are you the boss?
Am I the boss?
Are you the boss? Are you in charge, or is it like
I don't like the word boss, but I mean, like I founded it, so I was like,
right, okay.
I'm a founder. I can say I don't like the word boss. It's so I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I'm
a horrible
the founder,
term.
right? But we don't have like a hierarchy.
Right. Okay.
So they just do their stuff. So I have like 6 people that are actually my team. There's like other people, we like cooperate with, and there's gonna be people coming in as like residents, which is amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when I come back, we're gonna move to even nicer space. At least one that when it's warm in winter, because this one was kind of tough.
Makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah. My let me tell you, my garage gets pretty freaking cold.
Yeah, it was
my
like
3D printers don't work very well in minus 40.
Yeah. So, and Ukraine is also, it gets cold. We have winter. Same as Toronto.
Yeah. Not as bad as Toronto. Wait, does it get as cold as Toronto?
I don't know. It gets like negative 20 Celsius.
Yeah, that's about right for us. We can go down to minus 40, but that's rare, more rare, anyways. Yeah. So, minus 20 is about winter for us.
Yeah. So now we're gonna. Going back. We're moving. Then Josiah and the filming crew come to Ukraine to film
in the new fancy lab.
Yeah, nice. I hope I'll finish it by that time.
Right. Very good. Wow. And so now this TV series that he's doing, is it an ongoing series? Like he's just going to keep doing it?
Well, now we're shooting a pilot. He's shooting a pilot. So yeah, but there's going to be more episodes. I don't know. It depends on what network's going to pick it up. Still, I don't, because I don't know. Or maybe Josiah knows, but I don't. He's dealing with all that. No, he's a producer.
He's really good at the marketing too. He's very good at the marketing. I think that's a big part of this too. Is we need to have people out there who can market this in a way that's not, that's sort of palatable to people, because there's a lot of misconceptions to overcome.
Yeah. Well, now. You're a pro at all the filming stuff, so I don't know. It's so
I'm good at making all these technologies look bad. Every technology I get involved in on television usually ends up destroying cities or coming back as a plague.
Okay, but there's you played a lot of science guys, and right? Yeah. Dr. Rodney McKay.
But it's usually scientific mistakes that go wrong generally, right? I mean, that's a big part of it.
Or
it's like we've forgotten that this is how people cured things.
Yeah.
People didn't obey the rules. They tried different things. I mean, it was the whole point, right? I mean, Catherine the Great tried to convince people that you could inoculate people against, was smallpox or whatever it was that was ravaging the place. Even back then, and people all thought they were, that's the work of the devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, they still do.
Well, yeah, they literally do. That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a bigger facility. You're going to get a micro injection site.
I want to. I really want to. Yes. Now I was I want this. I saw it, and it looks so beautiful. And we filmed there a lot. I took a lot of pictures, and I looked at it. I was like, this is the most sci-fi thing I have ever seen.
I want this in my lab.
But
you're saying it's $2,000. It's $2,000.
Yeah, it's gonna be $2,000. But still, it's
that's just for the unit.
You can improvise with stuff. You can always simplify stuff. And I think we're going to work for, to make microinjection setup available for everyone.
Yeah, he's very good at that too, making it more accessible to get the cost down. Although, how does he make a living? I worry about him on that aspect as well. He's got to, how is the Odin doing well? I mean, is he keeping?
I packed the packages. A lot of packages.
Good. So there's a lot of stuff going out.
Yeah, and if someone gets a package that's missing something, it's probably my fault.
Okay, good. So we should blame you.
Yes.
That's right. Hey, where's my fluorescence?
No, it's incredible. Now it's a bigger space. Now there's like a resident mycologist there. That's what I was trying to talk about.
What?
How I got into mushrooms thing. Yeah. Now they're gonna make bioluminescent fungi you can buy. So you literally just put it on your nightstand. It is gonna glow at night.
That's what I want.
Yes, it's called Pinus dipticus. This mushroom.
Really? Is it a naturally occurring? Oh, I see.
Beautiful. And there's other mushrooms. It's so exciting because I'd work there. Just use human cells or something like that. Something I know how to work with, and always walk past her little corner with all the mushrooms and all the exciting stuff that's going on there. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on there. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, there's something about, I don't know what it is. There's just, I watched an awful documentary about it recently. That was all just ridiculous,
What's it called? Was it Fantastic Fungi or something?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
on Netflix.
Beautiful. It was beautiful, but it was just at one point you're like,
it's like spirit religious in my opinion.
Yeah. I was like, but it pitched itself like a science thing. And then I was like, and these beautiful, not stop motion. Is Is that what it is? Stop motion?
Time lapse.
Time lapse. That's it. Time lapse photography and stuff. And then some obviously very smart people talking about very, very personal experiences that have nothing to do with the science of this stuff, you know?
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, I just don't think that the best way to deal with stuttering is to have everyone who stutters climb a tree, get struck by lightning, and then
was that Paul Stamets or something?
Yeah, while on a bag of mushrooms because they've taken too many. But look,
there's other things, right? About mushrooms, yeah.
And he's smart. Like, I mean, God, that's what I did end up. I ended up looking into that. The fungus that he was developing that would stop termites and ants, and remember that little bit? They just touched on that, and I thought that was one of the most interesting things that he'd done. He's patented a type of fungus. He's genetically changed the fungus so that so that it can get past the ant defenses, because the ants would kill anything that would come in laced with this stuff. He's made it such that they don't notice it. So this fungus can get into the ant colony and grow within and destroy the colony. And then not only that, it then stops other ants from showing up. So it's a natural pesticide, basically.
Yeah, I felt so bad because there was this whole documentary, and then only in the end they showed his lab and what they're working. I was like, I wish that was the whole documentary. Man.
Well, that was it for me. I was like, so I got on the net and started looking at I'm not sure why the net's over there, but I got on the internet and started looking up all of that stuff, because that was, to me, the story. All this hippie crap about going off and getting wasted in the woods. Who gives a crap? I mean, that's anyone could do that. Yeah. The scientist stuff is the stuff that no one else could do. That's what we should.
Need stuff for nerds. I'm a nerd. I want to see the lab space. I'm such a nerd for spaces.
Oh my God. I could watch YouTube videos just of people showing off their labs or their.
When I was in Austin, I filmed the Yanelab. I filmed Lyra's mycologist lab and David's lab, because I was like, this is I love it.
Bring it on. I want to see it. See it.
I'm working on it. I'll post it. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, because I always been so fascinated with just spaces and labs and how people, because you can learn so much more about a person just seeing how their setup looks, how they work. You can see how they think, actually.
Don't look at mine, please. Okay, I'm gonna show you this. This is the shame. This is what my mind is like. That's my cable management. That's a bit scary, but okay. Yeah. So that's probably why I maybe don't get around to a lot of the biotech stuff that I'd like to. All right, okay. I'm asking your advice now.
Okay.
Tech Bandits kids between the ages of 10, some of them 16. Some stuff works for them, some stuff doesn't. I tend to just bring stuff up. If they go with it, great. If they don't, they don't. But I thought I would like to play with some stuff that they could be involved in. What would you like? Any suggestions for things that are not crazy difficult, but that could have an impact on them going forward?
Have you guys tried the jellyfish kit when you modify bacteria to be fluorescent?
I have not done that yet. I think
it's one of the cheapest kits, and it's so interesting. Me and my team.
I think I have it, and I don't think I ever did it, which is shameful.
You just modify E. coli so it glows in the dark when you shine UV light on it. We did it. We got invited to a festival, big artsy festival in Ukraine, and they're do a workshop, and we did modifying bacteria and also bio art, just drawing on petri dishes. And we had
that's amazing to me. You could And
you
could, you could finger paint literally with the salsa you're getting off your fingers. Yeah.
Yes. And we did that, and we had kids, right? So we had genetic engineering thing, right? And we had a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old. And we were like, okay, that's probably going to be complicated. But the 9-year-old, she understood the assignment. She killed it. She had the most glowing petri dish. It was incredible. And the excitement, they actually get to understand hard concept or super advanced stuff.
So what sort of stuff what's the background that they would need to know to do that then? What sort of stuff? The background is
they pretty much know everything. They know that there's bugs everywhere, there's bacteria. So you just what do you teach
now?
Especially now. So you teach about bacteria. You teach that bacteria, it needs food to grow. So you make agar plates to stick them on so they can grow, and you can actually see them because there's so much food. They can drastically grow, and you can even see them with your bare eyes. And you're like, there's genes, right? You know how you look like your mom and dad, and like how genes work, but you can manipulate that because there's DNA, what makes a living organism a living organism. So like,
and they understand that stuff. They've heard that, whether in news
they heard that, and you still can explain
movies.
it. You just explain it on a different level. You don't be like, so in order to genetically modify E. coli, we're going to use some, restriction enzymes and blah, blah, blah. No, we didn't.
Right.
You just like,
they don't need to know that.
Yeah. We're just like, we are going to insert a gene in a bacteria and then give it some food to bribe it, and say, give it some stuff to bribe it into catching up that DNA inside it. So it's a spy DNA, because like we make it a disguise so it can enter the cell, right? And then some cells are not gonna survive, but that's why there's gonna be a little genocide, but we're gonna give them a lot of food, and they're gonna
What did you do today? We did a little genocide. That's lovely. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I explained it in my lab. When I was doing that, my lab mates were like, no. They're like, you're done. You're not doing this anymore. You're done. I'm like, sorry. But kids love that stuff.
They love that. That's it. So little backstory. We were originally called the Tech Terrors. Because they're my little terrors. They were like, they're all like I was as their age. They're just absolute, like,
terror.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like every kid.
But then, yeah, basically. Actually, yeah. Especially other people's kids. But the parents sort of balked at it, and some of the teachers weren't sure about the terrorist part of it. So they became a Tech Bandits. But the kids were so upset by it that our logo is Tech Bandits with bandits crossed out and terrors written below.
Oh, wow.
Because while we are the Tech Bandits, in my mind, they're still the terrors.
Yeah.
It's also difficult. You don't want to be doing biotech terrors.
Oh,
that's not a good.
Doesn't work well together.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the word terror has come to mean something very different than a sort of a term of endearment at their, at the way they
Tech
are.
Bandits, but it sounds cool. I feel like kids would be like, yeah, I'm a Tech Bandit.
That's it. Well,
and
that's the hope.
Class. Yeah.
Well, maybe I wonder if there's a way to orchestrate it so you could come in and walk us through some of this stuff, or tell us about it. At some point we got to get you. Well, maybe one day you could show us the lab.
Oh yeah.
Show off your new lab.
And
maybe by then I'll have talked somebody into coming and helping me out with some jellyfish. But if the ones that I've got are no longer viable, I mean, they've been on ice and stuff, but it's been a while. I'm a little worried I may have killed everything.
Oh, you can always get fresh.
Well, I think I might. Maybe
DNA should be fine, but bacteria can kind of be like, it depends how, when did you get it?
I don't even know now. It's been a while. Yeah. But still, it'd be a good one to practice my technique on. If it doesn't work, I will at least have gone through the process. So I know
just
what
like making plates and streaking bacteria.
Yeah, I did the agar plates. I don't know why, but I got such a kick out of just doing the agar plates.
Because like a petri dish, everyone talks about making it in a petri dish this, petri dish that. And you're like, I'm a part of this petri dish mystery now too.
Well, and I took a big plastic box and I sprayed it all down and I put gloves inside it.
Oh, so you made like a little laminar flow hoop.
Yeah, I made a little laminar flow, it's not without the flow. But I still managed to have a few things pick up bacteria that I have no idea where they came from. So that, I cannot imagine that anything could survive in the amount of alcohol that I sprayed inside that box.
No, maybe Josiah Zahner, but not the bacteria.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's probably mainly alcohol at this point, just because of the amount he sprays on himself and consumes.
And inside, yes.
Yeah. It's okay. All right. So then I will definitely do the jellyfish. That does make the most sense.
Yeah. And when the mushrooms come out, the like glow in the dark mushroom, that'll be
how far away from the glow in the dark mushrooms would you say?
I would say a month.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe now's a good time for me to email and say hi to Josiah.
Oh yeah. He's like, hey Josiah, just like just thought about you randomly.
Just weirdly. So what's next for you then? What's the next of the plan? Are you just going to build up this lab? Is this a full-time thing now? The lab is going to be like, this is it?
I came to this point when it can be like my full-time job, and I am so glad Like, it's literally all I wanted. All I
Yeah.
want is do biohacking, teach people, just, just spread the gospel,
Right.
and it makes me so happy, and it's so exciting. And, also probably going to work, for the Odin, even like on, in Ukraine, still
Yeah,
keep
why
doing
not?
stuff. And then probably
Can you do distribution out of Ukraine? Is there any advantage to that?
I was thinking about, we'll see about that, because it's probably going to be better to ship stuff, from Ukraine to like Europe. But,
does he have a Canadian branch?
no, he doesn't have. The headquarters are in Austin, so everything gets shipped out of like Austin right now.
Because the problem we get into is the border, right?
No,
It's
it gets through the border. Like, I got kids in
no,
Ukraine.
my stuff gets through the border too, but it's just there's often crazy duties and taxes and all sorts of stuff, so things end up becoming more expensive than they should, which is a drag.
Yeah.
But okay, so oh my God, that's got to be like, I'm really jealous. You just get to play in the lab all day and then show people the cool
unfortunately
stuff.
lately it's less of playing the lab and more like management and all the boring adult stuff, like management.
But can't you get adults to do that stuff?
Paying taxes, paying rent, and the
I
bills,
know.
and
Yeah, but that's not where your skills lie. Your skills lie in the science. Get someone else to deal with that
it's
stuff.
also, but I feel like we've seen scientists as only people who do experiments. I mean, I do that too. I do science, but I also I really enjoy lecturing. I really enjoy making content, and like and all these different things. And I'm like, it doesn't make me less of a scientist that way.
No, the outreach is really, really important. There's another friend of mine, James Gurney, who's a microbiologist. He's a brilliant guy. Was a fan of viruses long before all this COVID stuff happened. He really was, like, he was truly a fan of viruses. Like, he loved these things. And one of the things that he credits the British system, which requires because you get these grants to go to school, or whatever credits, I don't know what exactly the deal is, but they have to give back. But usually most people give back by doing like a day or two a week at a school. And he went, well, wait a second, that's 10, 15 people that I'm seeing per week. If I'm on the internet, I could do that to 150 people or 1,500 people or whatever. So he would do these great lectures about not lectures, just basically little geek out sessions about the various different things that he was excited about at the time. Amazing guy. Actually, you should. Yeah, he's a great guy to talk to. I mean, I guess that's what's also fun about this podcast thing is I think that the podcast can be used both as content and as a way to meet and get to know people. So you're increasing your
or just an excuse to have a conversation with someone. You're like, oh, it's actually for my podcast and not just because I'm a nerd and a geek or something like that.
Well, that was the eye-opening thing for me with the pandemic was we went from, so I was originally at this, I would just go to a local school, local public school and do it there. Then there was a teacher strike. So I had all the kids in the basement here and we ordered like a giant pizza. We would all just pull apart old computers and do stuff. And I have a big old microscope here that used to be my dad's, actually. Used to be my dad's lab. So you could probably use it for microinjection, actually, but you don't need it anymore. There's just better ones now. There's like these, like this kind of stuff, like the little USB microscope. It's just amazing. Like the quality of the stuff's incredible now. Anyway, so just all these little fun things to play with. Then, of course, there was the lockdown. Then there was the pandemic hit, so they couldn't come around. So we started doing Zoom meetings like this, and they were bored, and it wasn't working. Like it just didn't work. And my son was like, well, we stream. Why don't we? So we started talking to them because sometimes we talk about video games and stuff, is because that comes up a lot. And so they suggested that we started streaming it. And I was like, but you're streaming it to an audience. Like, is that okay with kids and stuff? Got clearance from all the parents. We started streaming. It is a complete revelation to me because you're all of a sudden you're in their world. They live on Twitch. They love the fact that there's like Twitch chats going on and stuff. In fact, you should consider that for these ones.
We are streaming, actually. We started streaming.
Are you?
Yeah, for my YouTube channel, or just do like science experiments and just stream it on like YouTube and Twitch.
But you can do this as well because you do it live. You have the chat happening on the side. Okay, we got to do that together. Someday we'll have to do that because
we got to stream.
I'm telling you, it is the best because you get all of a sudden all the topics and stuff, things start coming up in the chat and you start meeting people and people say, oh, I do this or I do that. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm completely smitten with this whole idea. I'm not sure that I love, again, the fact that it's a platform owned by Amazon. I'm worried a little bit about, again, when is this? I keep getting asked, is this content for kids? I'm like, no, it's not. It's with kids, but it's not content for kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because no kid's going to come looking for this, but like, you know, but there are kids involved. I mean, it's just, I'm looking forward to a point where we can be doing this without the need for these massive corporations to be involved in it, because there's always going to be a certain amount of concern about what gets brought up. I don't know that they're going to love biohacking in general on streaming.
Oh no, I don't like even, I try not to even mention COVID in my videos now, because I got like, I had my personal channel where I did all the, you know, DIY vaccine stuff. My channel got busted too.
Shit.
I got like a lot of videos what I find deleted. David too, and Josiah's just got banned for life.
Do you have backups of them all? Do you have the videos?
I don't. So it's all lost.
There's no way to get the content back, your content.
No. And I tried like emailing them and like, hey, can I please have like just like my videos so I can download them, not for like posting. No.
Yikes. And no one else has put them up anywhere. They haven't been.
Well, there's
pirated.
some Josiah's and David's, but yeah, at least there's a stream of us all like injecting it, the fun one. At least, you know what?
This is my concern, is I don't want.
I know.
I understand that there's a need to be careful about COVID misinformation, but that should not then crush the creativity and the science behind.
Oh, yeah.
That is really, really.
But you know what's a beautiful thing? So we got banned, but then you know Walter Isaacson? He's a
very familiar
author. He writes books. He wrote a book about like Steve Jobs and.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he just got a new book. It's about like Jennifer Doudna. She invented CRISPR. She got the Nobel Prize for that, and it also mentions us in our COVID vaccine. So we got banned from YouTube, but there's literally a screenshot from us injecting vaccine and a chapter like written about it in that new book.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? It's okay that my videos got deleted off YouTube. Now I'm in like a history book.
Oh, see, that hurts me. Like it bugs me because that's like, my God, that's footage. That's history. That is history in the making. That is the sign of things to come. I mean, where do you see this stuff going? Like what's going to happen? What do you see?
About what?
About biohacking, biotech. Where's it going?
It's going to the space. Like it's a rocket.
Yeah.
Literally also, but like it's a rocket. It's me and David talked about it, and Josiah were like, we can't even imagine what's gonna happen. We can't. We're doing this. We're like pioneers, right? Not very humble of me to say, but
no. What? Yeah. I mean,
but like we can't even imagine how like the world's gonna change. It's gonna be insane.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, the question I have is now, where's the best place to do it? Because I worry that I think in a way you may be in a better place than we are, because there are so many different legal issues there for us. Are there many in Ukraine? I mean, other than the obvious.
We can't even register as like a lab just because law doesn't recognize it. So we're just in this gray zone and no one cares about us. I always wait for like, since I started, I always waited for this, you know, gentle knock on the door with a foot by like Ukrainian SWAT or something. And it hasn't happened yet. And usually people in Ukraine are super supportive. Like if we're not talking about like universities, people in Ukraine are so excited about it. Like I had in my workshops people from being like from 9 to like 70 years old doing like architecture, IT stuff, you know, welders, artists. It's incredible because people in Ukraine are hungry for this, you know, because this is something new that happens in the world.
And to be at the forefront of it too.
Yes. So it's like, it's just beautiful. It brings me so much joy.
That's fantastic. Yeah. How do I help? What can I do?
Well, you're here on my podcast.
I'm doing it now. Very good. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
You're helping right now.
Well, whenever, like, let me know what I could do. Cause this stuff is, I mean, and also, God, your talk at Hack the Planet was that was fantastic. I mean, I came out of there and I was like, oh,
I was so awkward.
I was like, I want to go to Ukraine and do this too.
Well, please come if you are going to, do who, you can hang out.
I would in a second. Yeah. But like, who's that guy sleeping in the corner? It's just that guy from Stargate. Never mind.
Yeah, just like that Hollywood actor. Yeah, don't worry about him.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That's fine. He's just he
but
just
he knows
fails to
Jason
make the
Momoa.
But he knows Jason. There you go. Yeah. I am the opposite of Jason. I am as uptight as Jason is laid back. I am as fit as Jason. I'm as unfit as Jason is fit.
Like I don't think he's a human, to be honest.
I think there may be some genetic modification happening there too.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy, though. I mean, I gotta say, he's a real.
This is how we pitch it. We're like, you want to be like Jason Momoa? Just start biohacking.
Yeah, there you go. Join the lab.
Yeah,
now, what's the lab called again? Remind me the name of the lab.
Yanelab.
Yanelab. And what is that from again? There was a great.
Oh, so it's basically Yane means not a, or I'm not in Ukrainian.
Right.
So Yanelab, not a lab.
Not a lab. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
and
brilliant.
This podcast is called YANE Podcast, not a podcast. We're not,
it's true.
We're angsty Zoomers. We're not like anyone else.
There's a joke that says, what do you call two actors in LA? A podcast. Because everyone during the pandemic, of course, everyone's
got a podcast.
The number of within the first month of lockdown, I had been invited to be a part of so many podcasts. I mean, it was like very flattering, but I was like, I have a hard enough time just trying to do Tech Bandits. Like I try to do Tech Bandits at least once a week. I'm lucky if I get once a week now. It's just been this, because now there's the AFK world, the away from keyboard world is also infringing on my time now. So
no, it's coming back.
But well, look, if you ever need if you need a message that I can amplify or a request that can be, sent out or something, let me know. I mean, I don't, for what it's worth. I mean, luckily that, like you, many of the Stargate people are big science fans. I mean, big, and many of them are more established now because, the show was a little while ago, so they, I think you'll find that there may be some people who'd be willing to help out, or at least know people that can help out and stuff. So that's,
well, but that's, so I appreciate it a lot.
And will you get a salary and stuff out of this? Will there be enough coming in that you can actually get paid to do it rather than just having enough to get by?
Well, for now we're having enough to pay for the rent, but I feel like we're working more on Patreon. What can we do? So reach more people, get donations, and just also want to start selling some stuff, some cool stuff.
What we're doing? What? I designed, well, I didn't design. I gave some rough ideas to a company to do coins. So we're doing these little, they're like minted coins, and I've left a little space on them so that if we want to, we can create, I don't know if you're at all into the crypto stuff, but there's NFTs now where you have a digital. So I thought we could make a digital version of them as well. So you've got a coin and it's tied to an NFT. And of course that would help. That would help fund stuff. But the thing I love about it is just there's a lovely tactile feel to a coin. And for some reason, I kind of see that with bio. You could I feel like there's something, you could do something there.
That's the one. Yeah, you have to have stuff to touch and just feel and interact with. Yeah, we're going to work on that.
Well, look, if it works out with these guys, I'll let you know, and then maybe. Well, I guess they're in Canada. Though. This has got to be Ukraine's got to have a place that mints coins of some sort.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we have coins in Ukraine.
Well, no, but I mean, these are like what they call them, challenge coins or something.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a term. I'd never heard of that before, but apparently it's a thing called. I had a friend. Where is it? Is it? Have I got it around? Normally I have it lying around because it's just a nice big. I don't have it. But it's like a big old British coin. It's almost like that. It's like a big old, and it's just so great to flip around your fingers and have
for ADHD people.
For absolutely. But it's also there's something I as a form of merchandise. It just seemed like something. It seems to catch people's attention. So I'll let you know if it goes well, then maybe that's something to consider as well.
Thank
But
you.
the merch stuff is tough though, because finding a place that does, if you
Good
just
quality.
want merch, it's easy, but good quality stuff, like a lot of my Bandits, I don't have it on, but a lot of my Tech Bandit stuff, I've gone to a couple of different places and it just starts peeling off and it's just not,
Yeah, well, good thing in Ukraine, there's a lot of companies that, or like indie companies are doing like clothes or stuff like that. So we actually,
that's perfect.
what I want to do is like, make merch, which is, and I don't even want people to buy it because like, I want to support Yanelab. I mean, obviously I want that too, but I want people also to be like, what is this piece of clothing or like piece of merch? I want it. And they're going to be like, oh, it's Yanelab. What the heck is Yanelab? And you're gonna, like, learn about it. Like, because I like
really
fashion,
smart.
I like art, and I want to connect that together.
Oh, that's
but
brilliant.
It's hard.
I'm talking to a 3D printing guy this evening, and one of the things that I'm fascinated by that I saw on, I think, one of his podcasts was this 3D printing of fabrics. So you 3D print onto fabric, and you can create these really cool, they're almost like suits of armor. I mean, you could have feathery things that can move and be. Yeah, there's something neat. And there's biotech. Well, there you go. There's your mycelium stuff. You can start playing with some biotextiles and things.
Oh yeah, for sure. I did play. I was filming Yanelab, and there's so much stuff to touch, and I love touching things and like live things and mushrooms. And then she figured out I was going to Vancouver. She's like, "There's so many amazing mushrooms because nothing grows in Austin, Texas, because sun just literally sterilizes everything. So
kills everything. Yeah,
mushrooms.
Of course, BC is like, it's insane because it's a rainforest.
On a walk and I found that super rare mushroom she was talking about, and she really wanted me to send it to her. I found it just on a walk. I wasn't even hiking.
How would you send it? I don't even know how you do that. Would you send a spore?
I brought some test tubes. No, just like send a specimen.
Huh.
Yeah. So now I collected
That's
I
smart.
don't know, 10 mushrooms that I'm gonna send back to the Yoden for Lyra to experiment.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got to the point now where I take photographs of mushrooms. I don't know. It's like, but Jane's like, why is our it used to be all pictures of the kids and the dog. Now it's like, I found a mushroom. And she's like, why do I want a photo of mushrooms in my, because it'll pop up on our we have like a little digital photo frame.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden there's just these hideous looking mushrooms and weird mycelium things on it as well now. So
yesterday, I found like a slime mold mushroom. So it's literally slime like on the leaves.
Huh.
First, I was like, okay, that's probably someone's puke. But then I was like, wait, I remember I read about that mushroom. And then I found this mushroom, which was, so there's, like turkey's tails and all these mushrooms that, grow on trees. They're like usually pretty hard and they're good for like biomaterials. I found another mushroom like living on top of it. And when I tried to like pick it, it was like this little puffball. I pinched it and like it's like a sack full of spores, like purple spores, and it's just like exploded with spores. And I was like, ooh, what?
Did the colors become more intense? Did Then
the music started playing.
Did you climb a tree in a rainstorm? And it's funny. There's
then I discovered that I was Paul Stamets.
That's where you went with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I one of the things that I always sort of, because I'm a horrible person, used to laugh about reading about out there was that they would find these crazy hippies dead all the time in the forest because they'd go off searching for their magical mushrooms and they'd end up taking the wrong one.
Oh yeah,
and because there's a lot of incredibly toxic mushrooms out there as well. So they apparently every year they lose like a handful of people to this, they think they're going out for a party and it ends up being the end of the line for them. So,
in Ukraine, there was a story. People like to pick mushrooms in Ukraine, like edible mushrooms, and just cook with it.
Yeah, the Brits used to do it too. Same thing.
So there was a story in the news, like actual story. So, what they did is like, some grandma, some man who went to the forest, he picked some edible mushrooms and then you marinate them. Because Eastern Europeans marinate everything, so they marinated the, canned these mushrooms. And then it was like a village, someone's wedding. And they're like, oh, let's, And what do you do in when a wedding in a village? You just bring, your own food and you just,
Right.
give it to everyone. So like they actually picked like poisonous mushrooms. So there like 5 people died from them.
Oh no.
Right. And so like after like 2 days, there's a funeral. And usually when there's funeral in Ukraine, you all sit down, you all eat and drink and just like talk,
Oh no.
right? So what they did, they're like, oh yeah, it's so sad that they died. And then someone's like, wait, there's some mushrooms. Let's eat these leftover mushrooms.
Oh no. Wipe out the rest of them at the funeral. Oh my God.
And then like 5 more people died because they ate those mushrooms.
Oh my God. See, this is why I'm terrified of mushrooms. I mean, I love the idea of growing them. Yeah. And I have like some kits that I have that I've grown, and we have had some, like, there is nothing like a mushroom that you've literally just pulled out and you cook that. It's like nothing tastes like that. It's extraordinary. And I could see it usurping meat. I mean, I could see it becoming, because look, you could create those, you can engineer those things to eat plastic, and then you can eat the damn fruit. I mean, this is that's the amazing. I mean, I'm not sure that
they grow on anything. They just need carbon.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just, the plastic one was extraordinary to me. You break it down with a bit of UV light or something, and then it'll just feed on it. That's extraordinary. I'm seeing a number of messages popping up. I should probably take off.
Thank you so much.
Return to my boring day.
Yeah. Well, let's just, I forgot that I didn't do an intro. So now I need to do an intro.
Please. Yeah, by all means.
I was just like,
do you do all the editing and stuff too? Do you do all this edit stuff? Yeah.
Of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't even need to sync audio because it's a good thing. Thank you so much, David. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever. I look forward to doing it again.
Yes.
Enjoy your time in our fine Best Coast.
Beautiful Canada. Thank you.
When are you coming to Toronto?
I wasn't really planning on coming to Toronto.
Yeah.
But
it's not as pretty as Vancouver.
Yeah, do I have to now?
Well, maybe next time I'll have to make sure I'm in Vancouver. We'll have to. We got to somehow. Now the world is beginning to open up a bit.
Yeah,
perhaps
sure.
there's a chance we'll run into each other again in the near future. If not, it's when's Biohacking Planet again? Is it?
Probably next summer.
Good. Is it gonna be back in Vegas again? My God, it was hot.
I think it's either going to be Vegas or maybe Austin.
Oh, he should do Austin. That makes way more
Austin.
sense.
Such good food.
Do you?
Mexican
I've never been to
food.
Austin.
How can you not? That's like a movie.
I know.
It's so embarrassing.
Apparently they don't like me in zombie movies for some reason. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I've got a couple of people that I need to visit out there now. So that's let's hope it is Austin. Let's start applying a little pressure.
On Josiah being like,
yeah, because Josiah's not going to need any pressure. He doesn't. Yeah.
No, yeah.
He probably wants to get away. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but thank you so much. Yeah, if anyone wants to support our podcast, you can always subscribe to our Patreon. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Aww.